I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly.
Chris, your mic is going crazy.
I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get this to us.
I was wondering if anybody else heard that.
Yeah, Chris' mic is going crazy in the background. What's up, everybody? Greetings. Coming in red hot. Went 0-5 last night. Really happy about it. God, that sucks. Actually, so the last month has been excellent for me, but in the last 48 hours, 1-9. I've lost 9 of my last 10 bets. And after an I had a monster Saturday too. Gave it all back and then some. Ugh. So let's put a stop to that. Modai, is this your first day working of the new year? Have you worked since the ball dropped?
Since the 2024 ball drop. You mean from like last year? Yeah, I took a year off. I just needed to find myself. You know what I mean? But no, it feels good to be back.
Would you consider that mission accomplished?
No, I actually feel even more lost as a person. So I'll probably take another year off after this week.
Modai went to find himself and lost himself even deeper. Why do I hear like everything Chris is doing? Like, is
Chris, you do sound pretty crazy, I must say.
Yeah,
but I feel like you sometimes have like an adjusting microphone, even though you just have a regular.
Whatever
Apple
you just
microphone.
did fixed it.
So just speak.
You muted
real
yourself.
quick.
I muted myself.
Oh.
Is it better, or is it like a lot of stuff coming in the background? I'm sitting in a very quiet room.
No, I could tell. Listen. Listen.
Probably always got my back. I love
Listen,
you,
I got your back, Chris. I trust that the room is quiet. Okay, we're not hearing any feedback now. I think we're good to go.
If so, just let me know. I'll leave it.
Okay, no, we're good. We can commence.
Let's start. Celtics, Raptors in Toronto. Bet this game. Boston minus 10.5. If Jakob Poeltl is ruled out, I love it. Because the Raptors have shown us they're pretty goddamn bad without Jakob Poeltl on the floor. I mean, the on-off splits with him are pretty significant. Actually, on both sides of the floor. They're a worse offensive team without him. They're a worse defensive team without him. They're a significantly worse rebounding team without him. So if Jakob Poeltl's ruled out, I should be sitting pretty with this Boston minus 10.5 bet. If he's ruled in, I mean, it still would be the side. I'm on the Celtics. It would still be the side that I pick. So if he's ruled in, it's not like I all of a sudden hate the bet. Boston, first in the NBA in defensive efficiency and transition. Toronto likes to push the pace and get out and run the fast break. So, I mean, it's still a good matchup for the Celtics. They should be able to beat this Raptors team by 15 with their eyes closed, blindfolded. Boston seems to have really turned it on, too. I believe it's 5 in a row they've covered. So early in the season, it was not profitable to bet the Celtics. They were playing with their food. We weren't seeing their best fastball night in and night out, but they seem to have turned things around. So, yeah, I am on the Celtics here, minus 10.5.
I will go. I didn't actually bet this one, but I have Scotty Barnes over 7.5 rebounds. It was plus 124 at FanDuel when I last checked. It actually got bumped on FanDuel down, like their main line down to 6.5. So the odds did come down a little bit, I guess, in terms of the line. But I still like the look. Like it's been a kind of a hit or miss season for Scotty Barnes. Like he gets hot and then he goes cold. He does seem to be in the middle of a hot streak from rebounds. Like he's hit it in 4 of his last 5 games. Prior to that, he missed it in 4 straight, which is kind of just like how things go, especially like the cyclical regular season nature of stuff. But good matchup. Like Scotty Barnes collects the majority of his rebounds off of missed 3-pointers. We all know the Celtics bomb 3-pointers. They allowed 3rd most rebounds specifically to Scotty Barnes' position, which is just a forward. I don't normally look at a lot of positional stuff if it's not like point guard or center because it's kind of nebulous. But if you look at guys similar to Scotty Barnes, this is per Props Madness. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. It's like 4 of 8 going over, so exactly 50%. But a lot of it is like guys missing one and then hitting it in another. Like Josh Hart in back-to-back games against the Celtics, missed the first, hit the second. Josh Giddey, 1 for 1 against the Celtics. And then Barnes himself, first time he played the Celtics, 13 rebounds on 17 rebound chances. The next game, only 3 rebounds on 6 rebound chances. So I didn't quite feel good enough about it to bet it. but this is where I would go if I'm betting this game.
Chris?
I agree with everything you said, Cal. The difference between you betting it and me not betting it is Jakob Poeltl, because I want to see what happens if Jakob Poeltl actually plays. If I can get a better number with Jakob Poeltl in, I want Boston. If I get a smaller number with Jakob Poeltl in, I want Boston. Either way, I want Boston. But I want to see what happens with Jakob Poeltl. I also considered, Kyle, and this is maybe the way I end up betting it because I don't have a bet yet open yet. A Toronto team total under. I don't like that the number, I think, it's dropped like maybe a half a point, but I think it's still some 107s and a half, which is what it opened at. You mentioned Boston just kind of turning it on defensively as of late, and both of these teams are bottom 10 in pace over the last 5 games. Boston is still really elite defensively, and even though they got the first leg of a back-to-back tomorrow in Detroit, I still feel like they can come in here and lock this Toronto Raptors team up, especially if Jakob Poeltl doesn't play, because that's a lot of second-chance opportunities, in my opinion, that's not going to be there. So, and cherry on top, I know you don't like revenge games, Kyle, but they actually beat this Boston team outright the last time that they played in Toronto earlier this season. Actually smoked them 110-97 back on January 15th, about a month and a half ago. So I do like everything Boston in this game. Don't got a bet yet. Waiting on Jakob Poeltl.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Cleveland, Orlando did not get the best of the number on this one. I still like the bet. Market obviously disagrees. It's up at 7.5 now. I got Orlando at +6. So again, I mean, not a great bet. Mistimed the market. I still think it's the right side to be on. I mean, if Darius Garland doesn't play, I have this one at about 3. If he does play, I have it at around 4.5. So either way, I think I'm on the right side here. We'll see. Cleveland obviously has been an absolute wagon. But you know what? Orlando is showing signs of being all the way back. In their last 4 games, they've got a defensive rating of 99. Looking like the Orlando Magic team we saw in the early in the season. Elite defense, put a ton of pressure on the perimeter, force you to make contested shots on the interior. Cleveland is elite defensively against the fast break. That's probably the strength of their defense. Orlando doesn't run the fast break. I mean, they want to play in the half court. So some of the things that Cleveland does really well, not much of a factor against the Magic. And look, the Orlando offense isn't good. It's been better recently, but it's still not a good offense. But one area where Cleveland struggles defensively is the pick and roll, and Orlando does a lot of that. So I think there's a lot of positive angles here for the Magic, and I think I'm on the right side. But full disclosure, the market disagrees. I did not get the worst of the number. I'm the best of the number. So I'm on the Magic. 1 sec. I need to make a call real quick. Back in like 40 seconds. Just forgot to call this person before. You guys got it.
Okay.
Jeez, Kyle just doesn't care about the stream at all.
Go ahead, buddy.
I promise I have bets today, but this is another one that I didn't lock in, but I think is a good look. It's Donovan Mitchell first quarter points over 6.5. From a line shopping perspective, it's pretty good. It's +100 at ESPN Bet. The same price is -130 at DraftKings, -140 at FanDuel, and -129 at Caesars. So from a line shopping EV perspective, it's pretty good. He is generally a fast starter. He's gone over this number in 18 of 30 games this entire season. He averages about 7 points in the first quarter, so it's right on line with his average. He's performed well against this Magic team. They've only played once this year, but he scored 13 points in the first quarter last year. In the regular season, he hit it in 2 of 3 games. In the playoffs, he hit it in 5 of 7 in that 7-game series. Generally a fast starter, and there seems to be like a little bit of a rivalry between these two teams. Like I saw Big Caro and George Niang going at it, so it kind of seems like, again, like a rivalry is developing. And Donovan Mitchell is one of those guys that like I won't really trust him if he's playing some crappy team. He seems to kind of like show up for these types of games. So yeah, this is where I went, Donovan Mitchell, or this is where I would go. But again, I didn't actually bet it. Donovan Mitchell over first quarter points.
Probably, but you got to play in this one.
Yeah, I do. So
okay, you go ahead. I'll go last.
Yeah, so basically Kyle was alluding to the fact that he would like this more if Darius Garland doesn't play. I think the line's getting bigger because I think Darius Garland is going to play in this one.
I agree.
I mean, yeah, he was red hot heading into break, especially from beyond the arc. But if he returns tonight, I think it's a brutal matchup for him to get going from outside. I mean, if we look with both Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell active, this is a guy that on the road, not at home, he's super good at home, but on the road, he's now under this mark his last 10 to 12. He's only averaging 2.1 3-pointers made, and he's also under 8 of 11 matchups versus Orlando lifetime with the duo. He's averaging just 1.9 3-pointers made, including all 4 at Orlando, averaging just 1.3. And if you look specifically, got this from Props Madness, so shout out to that site. With the duo against top 15 above the break 3-point defenses on the road, 10-1 to the under this season, averaging just 1.5 3-pointers made. So this is a horrendous spot for him. Orlando, not only the number one defense at limiting 3-pointers made, but specifically the number one defense at limiting 3-pointers made to opposing point guards. Last 11 to 12 to face them have gone under their line. So happily going to take this at the low vig. I think DraftKings is the best book you could get it on. Now, like Kyle was alluding to earlier, I think he's 1-9 the last 2 days. I'm 0-6. Lonzo Ball left the game with a head boo-boo yesterday. That's the type of wave we're on right now. We just can't catch a break, but we're about to get it going today. So, Darius Garland?
Yeah, I like that. Like I said, Orlando puts a lot of pressure on the perimeter. And what Cleveland does, what Cleveland's so elite at, Orlando's good at taking that away. I mean, not that Cleveland still can't beat the Magic without their best aspects, but laying a big number on the road when the three-point shooting might not all be there, and that elite transition defense is kind of, ran up the stairs, kind of out of breath. So when the three-point shooting might not be there and that elite Cleveland transition defense might not be much of a factor. So I do think I'm on the right side, like I said, but the market moved against me. Chris?
I also think you're on the right side, Kyle. The only thing I'll add, I didn't bet it from a side perspective. The only thing I'll add is Orlando's strength of schedule sucks. They have the easiest strength of schedule. I'm talking about like easier than the Lakers last 5 games, 30th in strength of schedule. And that is a tad bit concerning because Cleveland is number one in efficiency differential, plus 19.6. And that's against the 17th strongest strength of schedule. So I agree with you, Kyle, that I think Orlando is back. I know that they didn't win the other day against Memphis, but they did get a cover, almost stole that game. Their offense I still want Jalen Suggs in before I want to, play on them too heavy. I am considering taking that +8 though, Kyle. Like if Garland gets ruled in, like I see an 8 on Caesars right now. Garland gets ruled in, I can grab an 8.5 or 9. I'm down to back Orlando in this spot. What I played is long gone, and that's a total under 225.5. So hopefully Garland doesn't play. That way you can win your bet, and I can win mine too. Because without Garland on the floor, this offense scores 10 fewer points per 100 possessions. Offensive rating drops from a 127 down to a 117. And we know the story with Orlando. Still not a great offensive team. They're 8-1 to the under, both in the first half and in the full game when they're a home dog. And Cleveland, I feel like their defense also continues to get looked over. They're 4th best last 5 games. Very, very good defensive team. And I mean, we don't have to talk about how bad Orlando's offense is. So I think that there's a lot of different ways. You mentioned, Kyle, Cleveland wanted to get out and run. Orlando elite in that department. You mentioned, Kyle, Cleveland wants to shoot up a ton of threes. Orlando does not allow you to shoot a ton of threes. The top 5, I think top 5, top 6 last 5 games in running teams off the 3-point line and opponent 3-point accuracy as well. So I took under. I got it at 225 when it opened yesterday. It's all the way down to 220. So don't call me a CLV king because I hate that name. But we got a couple points here, and I may join you too, Kyle. Especially if I can get. I do think Orlando's the right side in this game.
All right, let's move on to the next one. San Antonio, New Orleans. These two teams just played. I don't know. It's kind of tough to get a feel because on paper, San Antonio should not have problems scoring points on the Pelicans defense. I mean, New Orleans is one of the worst transition defense in the NBA. San Antonio likes to turn the tempo up, get out in the fast break. It should be a good matchup for the Spurs offensively here. But these two teams just played on Sunday, and the Spurs couldn't do shit. I mean, the Pelicans defense locked them down. I didn't even think that was a sentence I'd say this year. The Pelicans defense locked somebody down. But they did. The Spurs couldn't do anything. They got routed on Sunday by this Pelicans team, and specifically the Pelicans defense looked really good. And then they followed that up. We're now talking about a Pelicans team who, over the course of the season, might be the worst, consistently the worst defense in the NBA. They've played back-to-back great defensive games. So is the Pelicans defense on the upswing, or is 2 games just a super small sample size? That's what has me a little hesitant. Overall, I lean the Spurs +3. I would have this one closer to a pick, maybe Pelicans -1. So at +3, I would lean towards San Antonio, but I don't think I really could get there and bet it. The Spurs really haven't been very reliable since De'Aaron Fox joined the rotation. Obviously, Wembanyama's out as well, and they haven't really shown us that they're a team we could feel comfortable betting on. I do think the Spurs win this one. Also, another angle to this, San Antonio, after this one, I forget the exact 3 teams, but after this one, they have Houston, Oklahoma City, and like Memphis or something. So after this one, they have 3 very tough Western Conference games. So you could look at this and say the Spurs need to win this one, or they're about to lose 5 in a row or 6 in a row. This might be what would be considered a quote unquote must win game for the Spurs. Meanwhile, the Pelicans just got these guys on Sunday. So I think the Spurs win. Do I have money on it? No, but I don't absolutely hate it.
I have one. It's De'Aaron Fox over 36.5 PRA, points, rebounds, assists. Right now, best offered -104 at FanDuel. I got -105, so basically the same number, a little bit better actually. I love this one. I don't hate him going over in all 3 categories: points, rebounds, and assists. Like that's kind of how I started. I think all 3 could go over. I wouldn't even hate if you wanted to put a small parlay on him to go over all 3 of those categories. But just to go over, he's played 3 games without Wemby, so obviously it's a tiny sample size. He's gone over this number in 2 of the 3 games. The one game he missed was the last game against this Pelicans team. But look at his stats in that game. He was 3 of 16 from the field. He was 1 of 6 from deep. He had 5 assists on 17 potential assists. I get that the Spurs aren't good, but 5 assists on 17 potential assists is crazy. If he even gets a normal conversion rate, that's looking like a good assist game. And then his rebounding has been good at all 3 games. His main line was 4.5. The over was juiced to the gills, but he's had 5 rebounds or more in all 3 games without Wemby. He's averaging over 12 rebound chances in those 3 games as well. And if you look at just the entire regular season, he averages 8 rebound chances per game. And then the matchup is good in all 3 categories against the Pelicans. Points, rebounds, assists, all 3 look good. Could he score 25 plus points? Yeah. Could he get 7, 8 assists? Yeah. Could he get 6, 7, 8 rebounds? Yeah. So obviously I just decided to combine all 3 into the PRA. But I love him in all 3 of these categories.
Chris?
I have nothing else to add, Kyle, that you didn't already add. I agree. I think these short turnaround games you typically want to take the team that just lost, especially when there's an even level of playing field here. And even without Victor Wembanyama, I feel like San Antonio should be able to keep this game close, if not win it. I'm not laying points with the Pelicans at this point in the season. At any point in the season, am I laying points with the Pelicans? So I agree. Nothing else to add to this one, Kyle. I didn't bet it. Probably not going to.
All right. Next.
Yeah. So I took this on Sunday.
My bad. I didn't know Prop was on the screen. I didn't have the window open.
Off. Dick bag. All right. So I took this on Sunday and I was disgusted. But yeah, I love this spot for Zion still. So we took the 4.5 Discord, but now that's at -160. So I would still put a half unit on the 5.5. You get this at +145 on FanDuel. We didn't cash in the first matchup, but Zion still had 10 potentials in that game. He only converted 3 of them. If he wants to do that 2 times in a row here, where he's been absurdly profitable at home since last year, that's fine, but I'm not going to back down from my stance. This is an absurdly good matchup for him. Without Wemby, Spurs are rolling out a combination of Bismack Biyombo and Sohan as a small 5, and they're just not pleased with that rim protection. They're crashing in, trying to, 4 shots to the above the break 3, and that's amazing for Zion because 44% of his assists come from that area. He's at home yet again, and his teammates are far better at converting his potentials into assists at home. He's now hit 10 plus potentials assists his last 4 or 5 games with just 8 plus potentials at home this season. He's 4-2 to both overs. He's averaging 7 assists per game. And if we look going back to last season, he's over 60% of his last 20 games with 10 plus potential assists. So I just think that with the main concern here being stopping Zion Williamson just doing whatever he wants in the interior, he's going to get those shots on the outside to fall that he didn't the last time. Jose Alvarado and CJ McCollum, I believe each had 7 plus assists in the last game. I think those assists are finally going to go to Zion this time around, and those guys get the lesser assists. So I did the Zion mini ladder again. I don't know if I've cashed a single ladder this season. Every ladder I own is broken. I hate it here, but we'll see.
Zion over assists. All right.
Sounds like you're due, Prop Beaver. That's what I heard.
Sounds like I live in a house of shoots.
Milwaukee, Houston. Kind of a tough one to make a prediction or model out without knowing the status of Fred VanVleet. He's still listed as questionable. Actually, let me double check. He was listed as questionable as recent as an hour ago. Yeah, still listed as questionable. Also, Dylan Brooks and Jayshawn Tate also listed as questionable for the Rockets, but obviously the one I'm more concerned about is Fred VanVleet. Houston defensively maybe getting it together a little bit. Last 5 games, we're seeing the defense starting to look. I mean, their defensive rating is about 108 in the last 5 games, which is very good. They were really struggling on the defensive side of the ball if you rewind back a couple weeks. So that's some good news if you're a Rockets fan. The defense is starting to look pretty good. That being said, I'm not sure any defense can stop the Bucks when they have both Giannis and Lillard on the floor. We haven't seen it much. So we kind of forgot how good this Bucks offense is when they're both out there. Because, I mean, Lillard was banged up, then Giannis missed a bunch of games, and we haven't seen many games where both Giannis and Lillard are on the floor. And the last 12 times we have seen them both out there, they have an offensive rating of over 121. So this team can flat out score points when they're both playing. So even though the Rockets defense is showing signs of improvement, I tend to lean towards Milwaukee, who seems to be able to score on anybody when they're both out there. Now, where it gets a little bit challenging is on the other side of the floor, if you're asking my opinion, the Rockets offense, because with VanVleet, they're so much better. I mean, they're so much better offensive. They're so much better offensive team when VanVleet's the primary ball handler. I don't particularly love the Bucks defensively, so if VanVleet plays, it's a pass for me. If VanVleet doesn't play, I'm down to take the Bucks, even though admittedly the line's going to drop if VanVleet is ruled out. But if VanVleet doesn't play, I think the Bucks win the game. So as long as this doesn't drop to it doesn't move to Bucks minus 2.5, which it won't move that much, I'm down to play the Bucks last minute if VanVleet is ruled out.
So I went Damian Lillard, 25 plus points in this one. You can get plus 115 at Hard Rock or plus 110 at both FanDuel and DraftKings. I got plus 114, so really not a ton of movement there. It's a really good matchup for Dame going up against the Rockets team. Like, they're an awesome defense, but the only really way that they can get beat is by someone with Dame's skill set that can run pick and roll, that can run isolation, pull up from deep, stuff like that. They gave up the second fewest points per game to spot up shooters because they stick to shooters, but they gave up the second most points to pick and roll ball handlers and the third most points per game to via isolation. And Dame, I mean, he averages 25.5 points in general, just straight up this year without any other filter. His average against teams in the bottom 10 guarding pick and roll ball handlers is honestly about the same, is about 25.5. So I can't say that he performs a ton better, but if we're getting Dame on his average in a good matchup for plus money, plus 114, plus 110, that sounds like a good bet in my book. Anytime you can really get Dame for plus money at 25 plus, especially in a good matchup.
Dame Lillard, 25 plus points. Chris?
Very conflicting game, Kyle. I kind of want to be with you. I think everything you said made sense, except, Kyle, I think I slightly disagree with you. I kind of want the Bucks if Fred VanVleet gets rolled in. We haven't seen him since the first. Fred VanVleet's no spring chicken. I don't think.
I just need VanVleet in terms of the Rockets offense. I just need VanVleet to not turn the ball over because.
I guess that's true. Yeah, but as far as like offensive rhythm, he'll get everybody else involved. But I still feel like him coming back he won't be necessarily the greatest. But then I guess you think about it, the Rockets aren't the greatest. The Bucks aren't the greatest defense either, specifically at the guard position. So I guess he could kind of have a field day. I don't know. I kind of like the Bucks here, Cal. When they played earlier this season, it was a 3.5 point spread. Same exact thing, right? In Milwaukee, and the Bucks were able to squeak out a win. They won by 1 point. I kind of feel like the game is coin flippy, and if that's how I feel about it, I think the Bucks can win. Then I definitely think the point should be in my back pocket. I want to see what happens with VanVleet, and also all the other guys on the injury report as well. You mentioned it, Jayshawn Tate. It's a bunch of guys on the injury report. Tari Eason. So I want to see what happens with all those guys. If they all get rolled in, maybe I'll be afraid and won't take Milwaukee. But I kind of really want to take Milwaukee here. Just kind of waiting on the injury report.
With Fred VanVleet, that's exactly when the Rockets started looking like shit when he got hurt. So 9 games ago, they're 2-7 against the spread, 2-7 straight up in their last 9. That's when VanVleet got hurt. Before that, the Rockets were winning and covering. They looked good before VanVleet got hurt. So that's the definitive thing you can point at.
Which I think, so I agree with all the logic, which I think you're right. I think moving forward, they probably get back there too. But first game back, I feel like, because I don't think it's been since the first, and that's about 24 days. Fred VanVleet's not 21, 22 years old anymore. So I think you can fade him first game back.
All right. Bucks and Lillard 25 plus points. Where are we at next? Phoenix, Memphis. Line dropped last night. I would lean towards the Memphis side. In fact, that's 7.5. I don't necessarily hate it. Last night it was at 8.5 when I did the video. I have this game at around 9.5, 10. So I would lean towards Memphis at this number. In fact, it's not even a terrible bet. I just don't know. The Suns are a bad transition defense. They struggle against teams that want to run. They are playing the running team. If there's one team where you're like, yo, pick a team in the NBA that just freaking runs, it's Memphis. They're first in transition frequency. I mean, they get out and run the fast break, and that's exactly what Phoenix has struggled with this year. And it's kind of the same matchup on the other side. Memphis defensively isn't great in transition. They give up a ton of points in the fast break. But if you actually set up a half-court offense and put Memphis in a position to play a half-court defensive set, they actually are 9th in the NBA in defensive efficiency in the half court. So Memphis is not a team known for its defense, but the Suns, a team who never run, they're going to let the Memphis defense set up, and that actually plays into their strength. So everyone's playing for Memphis. They're fully healthy. Let me just make sure that hasn't changed. No, yeah, everyone's playing for Memphis. They're fully healthy. I think Memphis wins by double digits. Like I said, I had this one at 9.5. So, you know what? I might even add this one. I like Memphis. Modi, Chris?
Yeah, well, you kind of made my argument for me. I took John Morant, 25 plus points. His mainline prop, 22.5. If you'd rather be a little bit safer. Everybody that knows me knows I'd rather go with the plus money. It's plus 142 at FanDuel. So I got plus 158. So again, didn't move a ton. Not a CLV King day for me. But I love this matchup for John Morant. He's kind of like an all or nothing scorer. Only twice in his last 30 games has he landed between 23 or I guess 20. Has he landed on exactly 23 or 24 points? So to me, I'd obviously much rather get the better price. It's a really good matchup. He just played the Suns literally 2 weeks ago today, scored 26 points in that game. And that was with going 0 of 5 from deep. Obviously, John Morant, nobody's going to confuse him with Steph Curry in terms of shooting, but scoring 26 points, going 0 of 5 from deep sounds like someone that can replicate that. He got to the line 12 times. So yeah, maybe he doesn't do that, but maybe he makes a 3-pointer or two. And you make my argument for me. He gets the majority of his points in transition. The Suns' 6th worst transition defense in the NBA. Next up, pick and roll ball handlers, where he gets the second majority of his points. They're the 7th worst defense, guarding pick and roll ball handlers. And even though, like I said, he's probably not going to get to the line 12 times, free throws is where he scores 3rd in terms of his play types. And the Suns still foul at a, I guess, above average rate. They're 19th in terms of points given up via free throws. So this all kind of adds up with Ja having a good game. I also think that he likes showing up in these big matchups as well, kind of like what I said about Donovan Mitchell. He seems to have not even like a rivalry, but it's like a mutual respecting with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So he wants to show out in front of them. We saw him give the ball to Kevin Durant after he scored his whatever 1,000th point, I think is what it was. So yeah, for the odds, plus 145, him to get 15 or 25 plus points, I thought that was good value.
I just bet Memphis at -7.5. And another thing I want to say, because Memphis hasn't looked all that sharp in their last 4 games, but if you look at their schedule, Memphis just went out on the road to the East Coast. At Indiana is a tough place to play, especially if Indiana's getting their shit together. At Orlando is an extremely tough place to go play, especially if Orlando's getting their shit together. And they won that game in Orlando. And then after that, they went to Cleveland. And then they only lost by 6. The number was 5.5, so they played right on market there. So they just went out to the East Coast and played some tough teams. If you look at the 4-game road trip, because that's where, if you're looking at the Grizzlies, that's the area you're concerned about. The last 4 games, it looks like Memphis is entering a slump. I mean, really the only bad game in there is maybe at Indiana, which is a tough place to play. The Clippers game they lost, they had no Morant in that game. So I'm not really worried about the last 4 for Memphis. So, yeah, I just, like I said, I just bet this. Chris?
I always worry about Memphis, Kyle, when it's a team that they're playing against that can actually force turnovers, because they are so frugal with the basketball. But guess what Phoenix doesn't do? Force any turnovers. Yeah. They're like you keep it, you get a shot, and then when we get it, just don't take it from us. We want to get a shot too. So I agree with everything you said, Kyle. I bet Ja Morant points over last night as well, because I saw those same exact trends that you talked about, Moda, as far as points given up in transition, as far as points given up as pick and roll ball handler. Ja's up and over in 9 of his 12 games against bottom 10 teams defensively in both of those categories. So I love Ja Morant over his points. Cal, I was hoping that you were gonna be like, hey Chris, let's bet Phoenix today. I mean not Phoenix. Memphis today, and I was gonna be like, okay, cool, let's do it, because I'm gonna add it as well. Everything that you said, I saw the line come back down. It didn't make sense to me. I kind of wanted to wait, make sure nobody was gonna be ruled out, like, because it doesn't make sense to me that this line is coming down. I even looked at it. Of course, Memphis is really good at home. I think 18-9 against the number, but if they're laying 5.5 points or more, it's more like 7-2 against the number. And then Phoenix, when the bigger the number gets for them on the road, when they're a dog and they're catching points, the worse their record is. So it's not like they're like, oh, Phoenix is entering this territory where like, oh, they're getting 6.5 points now. Like that's too many points. No, it's not. Like they typically lose by double digits and score 102 points when they're close to a double digit dog. So I like everything you said, Kyle. I'm gonna go ahead and add Memphis as well.
All right. Let's move on to the next one, which is Charlotte Golden State. All right. Actually,
the Melo ball just rolled out.
No,
just so
I
you
know
beforehand.
I know.
Before you get into your spiel.
Yeah, because I know he got a Charlotte plus 100 graphic coming up.
You could put Charlotte plus 17.5 up for me. I'm not gonna bet it. Let me just say, a spot I really like to bet is when nobody likes a team. And nobody in the world wants to bet the Hornets here. The Golden State Warriors are looking good. They're trending upwards. Everyone's buying Golden State Warriors stock right now. Nobody wants to touch Charlotte. Nobody wants to touch Charlotte without LaMelo Ball. Nobody wants to touch Charlotte on a back-to-back. Nobody wants to bet the Hornets here.
Cal, stop it.
So
stop
naturally,
it,
I do.
Cal, stop it. Stop it, Cal. Cal, stop.
I don't
friends
have
do
to
not
bet
let
down.
friends do not let friends do things like this. You know who nobody wants to bet, Cal? Phoenix. Nobody wants to bet Phoenix because they lost to the Victor Wembanyama-less Spurs right out the break, and then they lose to Toronto, and they struggle and they barely beat the Bulls, and they cover. They don't even cover. That's who nobody wants to bet, Cal. Stop it. That's an illness. Get checked out, Cal. I'm telling you as a friend. Don't think about
does Golden State win games by this margin?
Do you think Charlotte is capable of losing a game by less than 40 right now?
Kinda, yeah.
Because if the Kings can, just walk me through how they keep this game within the number. Because I didn't bet it either. I'm not picking the other
walk you
side.
through how I keep the number. Golden State's not that good.
Golden State, Cal, look at the win margins for Golden State since Jimmy Butler's joined the team. All of them have been by more probably than what the line is set right now. And Charlotte,
they lost to Dallas
the first time, and then they just beat Dallas, laying 9-10 by 23, 24, something like that. All of the other wins. I think it's a decent time to consider selling Warrior stock. If you were on 2 weeks ago, people were like, Golden State's not even good. They're probably not even going to be in the playoffs. And now after 2 weeks, we're like, oh, yeah, lay 3 touchdowns. Like, I don't know. I think it sounds crazy. It's a small sample size to react to. I want to lean towards Charlotte here. I don't have a bet, but Mordai?
Yeah, I also didn't bet this game. Absolutely not. If you really are a sicko and you have to, it would be Josh Green points. Without LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, Brandon Miller's been out for a while, but he's played 11 games without those two. He's gone over. I should say Josh Green 10 plus points. I forgot if I mentioned that. Plus 125 odds at Bet365. He has gone 10 or more points in 7 of 11 games in which Miller and Ball have both missed. He's averaging about just under 11 points per game in those 2 games. It's a good matchup. I mean, the majority of his points come via spot up, like over 40%. The Warriors are the 3rd worst spot up defense in the NBA. 7 of 11 guys with his exact scoring profile are per Props Madness, 11 of 14 have gone over against the Warriors by an average of almost 3.5 points above what their over under is priced at. So yeah, I mean, this game's disgusting, but I mean, Josh Green 10 plus points in a game where like he's probably going to shoot a lot more than he normally does because a bunch of guys are out for plus 125. Sure, why not?
Look, if I'm going to lay 17.5 points in an NBA game, it needs to be Oklahoma City or Cleveland. Golden State, we really putting Golden State up on that level? 17.5 points?
Kyle, you got to think about the spot, too. Like, this is already one of the worst offensive teams. Yesterday, Kyle, this is what you said to me. You said, I really want to bet Sacramento here. I think they win this game by 30. That's what you said. Yeah. That's Sacramento with no defense.
But hold on, that was an 11-point spread, not 17.5. I would not have laid 17.5.
The books aren't going to give you a gift. What you think you was going to lay 12.5 here? No, absolutely not. Charlotte has played more games, Cal, since the All-Star break than any other team. Remember, they had to make.
You know, Charlotte's one of the most profitable teams in the NBA and no rest.
Sure, take them. That's what you tell me. Take them.
Might, yo.
Take them.
You sound like you're going to take Golden State.
I'm not taking Golden State. I just don't think that that's financially smart, Cal, to take Charlotte. Like, did they give up on the season? You lose to Sacramento and Portland by 45 points apiece?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole thing is they're reacted to bad sample sizes. I mean, Charlotte. Hold on.
Didn't you talk about the Pelicans played 2 good games in a row on defense, and now you're wondering if they're on a
I took the
hot
Spurs.
streak?
I took the Spurs in the game. So
yeah, but
I was
you were
just
talking
explaining.
about.
I was explaining some of my hesitation, but you're making my point for me. I took the Spurs, saying like that. I was just saying that this worries me a little bit, but I took the Spurs. If I took the Pelicans, saying I'm trusting the defense, then your point would have merit. But
I think it's false merit.
Charlotte just went into Denver, by the way, with no LaMelo Ball, lost by 14.
Mm-hmm.
Did they hang a banner for that, or
Probably should.
They got to cover. They got to cover. And that's all Cal
Yeah.
wants. So, Cal, what you're saying, I can understand how you want to be against the whole world.
It's not that I want to be against the whole world. It's 17.5 is crazy. If you
Until you
blindly
realize
took the
they
underdog when every time they're getting 17.5 points.
Until you realize that Charlotte is offense is worse than Washington, and now they can't even get stops defensively. Sacramento just hung 130 on them last night, right? Or I think it was 130 on them. And then now you got Golden State, who hasn't had to travel. This team, like I said, with Charlotte, has played 5 games since the All-Star break already, because they had the extra game in LA. Probably just want to get back to Charlotte at this point. Don't have LaMelo out there. How are they going to score the basketball? What's the projected score, Cal? Give me the projected score.
I mean, how did they score the basketball in Denver? They just played the Nuggets, who are better than Golden State.
Denver don't play no defense.
They play a lot better offense than Golden State. All right, someone said, Kyle, I'll make a bet with you right now. I'll give you Hornets plus 25 for $200. Why would you do that? If you were going to bet Golden State minus 25, why would you bet at that plus 100 with me when you get a plus 140 on the sports? Next game,
That's it, right? Is there one more?
No, Dallas, LA.
Game of the night.
Oh, yeah.
I got to bet on this game.
This guy's not even a real Lakers fan, bro.
No, he's a fraud. He's a fraudster.
Fraudski, bro.
He's a fraudster Laker fan.
Who?
You,
Me?
bro.
Why?
You didn't even know the game was on. You said
No, I knew it was on. I didn't look too deep. I said this on my show this morning. I didn't look too deeply into the game because the spread has moved from 4.5 up to whatever it is now. Like this spread came available. Remember, as soon as Luka got.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I don't got anything. But Cal probably about to say he liked the under, and I like the under too. Specifically a Dallas team total under probably. But
Favorite bet of the night. Favorite bet of the night. Give me the under here. Got it at. What did I get it at?
I'm in the same boat. I also
let me confirm what I got it at. 232.5.
I got a fucking 231.
Well, that's the difference between a sniper and a casual. Yeah, I like the under here. Wait, why do I like the under? Let me pull up my notes.
Jesus Christ. This guy doesn't even know why he likes to bet.
I got
gets
worked
a
up.
number 2 better than me.
Because the Lakers defense is so good. That's really all you
And he
gotta
calls
say.
himself a goddamn shark. I like it more because of the Dallas defense, honestly.
Okay,
Dallas defense is trash,
can I
Nah,
go?
the Lakers are shooting the hell out of the 3-ball. Dallas, above the break defense, one of the best in the league.
Until they run into a really good 3-point shooting team that has Luka on the other side. So that's why you
Luka's
isolate
getting
the
clamped
team-
tonight.
team
Luka's getting clamped.
Luka's
bro.
getting clamped
By
sideways
who?
tonight. By
the
everybody.
best perimeter defense in
By
the NBA.
everybody.
The same defense that went in Golden State and got lit up the other day.
By everybody.
All right, can I go?
Go.
Sure.
All right, so Lakers Mavericks. I got it under 232.5. So right off the bat, we're talking about the Lakers offense, but really, can we switch it over and talk about the Dallas Mavericks offense? The offense I was saying was red hot entering the All-Star break. Anthony Davis got hurt. Who cares? Dallas is scoring. That party may be over. In the last 2 games, this offense looks like absolute piss. Offensive rating below 105 in their last 2, but it's not so much of a fade of the Mavericks offense because it's just 2 games, and Bodai's going to try to do some contradictory shit. I'm not playing it based off of a 2-game sample. I'm looking at the other side. What's going on with the Lakers defense? I need somebody that knows basketball to explain this to me, to give you exactly what's going on. Exactly 11 games ago is the last time Anthony Davis played for the LA Lakers. 11 games ago. So the sample size we have of the Lakers without Anthony Davis, 10 games. We have a 10-game sample size. What has happened in those 10 games? They're a top 5 interior defense, 6th in the NBA in defensive efficiency at the basket, 2nd in the NBA in defensive efficiency in the paint. What? Let me repeat that. In the 10 games without Anthony Davis, since Anthony Davis is gone, the Lakers have the 2nd best defense in the NBA in terms of efficiency in the paint. So they lose Anthony Davis. We're all, including myself, I was in Twitter Spaces like, how are the Lakers going to protect the basket? Everyone was saying that. This is the best defense they've played in the last 10 games. And a Mavericks offense that looked like shit the last 2 games. A Mavericks offense that likes to get into the interior and score. Lakers defense is going to clamp them here. Not to mention they're going to be motivated. Luka Doncic doesn't play defense. He'll be D'ing the fuck up tonight for this one against Dallas. So love the matchup for the Lakers defense. But at the same time, this Dallas defense isn't good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to try to tell you this Mavericks defense is good, but they have elite numbers at one thing and one thing only. They lock the above the break 3-point shot up, and that's where a ton of the Lakers shots are coming from. Come on. Was that not a compelling goddamn pitch right there? How are you not on the under after I said all that?
I'm on it. I firmly agree with you. I'm also fading Luka Doncic here. I almost don't like how many people are fading Luka Doncic. Seems what the hell is good with that. I thought it was going to be the opposite. But, I'm on Luka under 3.5 3-pointers made. I mean, on the surface, it's a bit nuts. Luka against the old team that told him to piss off. I mean, he should go nuclear, one would think. But, I mean, through 4 games, the minutes and the 3-point volume, which is too down here for me not to take it at this number. We're getting at plus 120 on Bet365. I mean, just 28 minutes per game, 8 3-point attempts. I mean, even if you give Doncic the benefit of the doubt here, let's say he gets 2 extra 3-point attempts. He's under his last 15 to 20 with 10 or less 3-point attempts. He's averaging 2.6 3-pointers made. Now he's going to face a Dallas defense that is the best in basketball at limiting opponent 3-pointers, sitting top 3 in both above the break frequency and efficiency over the last 30 days. We've now seen the last 10 of 11 point guards that face the Mavericks go under their 3-point mark, and not one of the last 15 of them, including Steph Curry twice, has cleared 3+ 3-pointers against this team. A lot of Luka's 3-pointers have come in transition. Doncic under 7 to 9 games this season against top 15 transition defenses. I also think there's a little bit of blowout risk here with the way that this Dallas offense is falling apart out of the seams coming out of the break. They have looked absolutely terrible. And then the only other thing that I mentioned, I guess, in the write-up for the under is the fact that, I mean, if there's anybody that knows, I guess, the weaknesses of Luka Doncic, I guess it would be Jason Kidd. The dude coached him for so many years. So, yeah, I think that Luka Doncic is actually going to be somewhat held in check here. I think that they are going to hone in on this motherfucker, and they're going to try and pick him apart. So, yeah, I'm fading Luka Doncic here. And I'm fading just the overall scoring in this ball game. I think this should be more near 226.5. So, at under 231. It's at like 233 now. Fuck me. Whatever. Under. Under both ways.
I like the comments. Someone goes, Luka Doncic is going to have 3 threes in the first quarter. And someone goes, facts, but Beaver needs this.
That's funny.
Modi, speak to the people.
Well, I agree with all your analysis. Looks good. It takes a big set of stones to fade Luka going up against the Mavericks. I get, like, they could put all 5 guys on him and he's still going to shoot. You're just asking.
I thought you were talking about the under. You're talking about his bet.
I'm talking about fading Luka specifically. Like, he could make 4 in the like, it was a tough matchup for him, the Timberwolves last year, and he cooked them. So I'm just saying, like, sometimes, but all the numbers you said make sense. I, on the other hand, went with the biggest revenge factor in this game. Everybody's talking about Luka Doncic. How about Max Christie? Unceremoniously dumped by the Lakers, trading to the Mavericks. That's the revenge narrative that everybody should be talking about, Max Christie. I'm joking. I kind of like seriousness. I just like this.
I like how he said. I like how he dropped unceremoniously too. Nice vocab.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about how he was dumped by the Lakers. It's like because he was too fat, I think is what the reports were. Everybody's been talking about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just like this spot. His first 7 games with the Mavericks, he scored 15 or more points. 7 of 7. He played 30 or more minutes in all 7 of those games as well. Now, there were guys in and out of the lineup for the Mavericks. Like, sometimes it was no Kyrie. Sometimes there was no PJ Washington. Sometimes it was no both of them. But, The last game he played with both of them in the lineup, he played 32 minutes. He scored 16 points. His last game was terrible. No way around it. He only played 22 minutes. He was 1 of 5 from the field, 0 of 3 from deep. Just a bad game. I mean, they got blitz from the jump in that game. I think they were down by like 30 points in the second quarter. Like, it was just, that game was just a blowout from the jump. But I think we're getting a good line on this play because of that. Like 15 plus points for him last game was plus 140. Now I got it, I think, plus 175. You can get plus 170 or plus 176 at FanDuel. It's still the exact same price. So it hasn't moved at all. So again, the matchup is average. It's not an amazing matchup. If you just look at the stats of where the Lakers are weak on defense and stuff, looking at their full season, it's like some areas are good, some areas are bad, whatever. I'm not playing the matchup. I'm just playing the spot. And I'm not actually, to be clear, putting any emphasis on the revenge factor. I just like the fact that, again, 30 minutes, 15 plus points in the first 7 games with the Mavericks. And he had one game where he didn't shoot well. The team got annihilated. So yeah, he only scored 2 points. That's terrible. But I think we're getting a value on this because of that.
All right, let's clear the board so we can see these guys' names. Chris, B Captain with 2 N's. He has his own YouTube channel. They do 7:30 a.m. Eastern time shows. And Modai, when he decides to work a couple times a week, maybe, you can type in Modai Analytics, right? Modai Analytics?
Jedi Modai, yeah.
Oh, Jedi Modai Analytics. It's a YouTube. He does daily stuff as well. Both these guys will be back tomorrow. Gentlemen, enjoy your night. Let's talk some college ball.
Thanks, guys. See you, gentlemen.
All right. Did you spit?
Thank
Did
God
you just
he wasn't
spit
on
in
the
your own
thing yet.
house?
Thank God he wasn't on the thing yet.
For those of you that
this guy's a fucking animal.
Totus wasn't on the screen and he went like this.
Rat bastard.
Did you just
nail off my finger and
you
spit it?
hawked
Yes.
a loogie in your own house. Dude.
Yes, I
rat.
hawked a loogie, and I will have my wife clean it up. Thank you very much.
I mean, what the fuck?
All right, talk about Florida, Georgia. I'm taking a piss.
Good afternoon. Good to see everybody here. I just wanted to do a quick shout out to Kansas for coming through last night. Never a doubt. Couldn't be more happy with that result. But anyway, Florida on the road at Georgia. Or I'm sorry, Georgia on the road at Florida. Florida on the road at Georgia. Excuse me. I'm on Georgia here. I understand that Georgia hasn't really looked good for a while now, but at the same time, like I've mentioned with a couple other teams, I feel like they've been facing a lot of very, very good competition. I mean, their last 4 games, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Missouri, Auburn, all those teams are pretty much the class of the SEC, give or take. Mississippi State, but again, Mississippi State is very similar to Georgia, where they've just played these upper echelon SEC teams. Where I don't really grade them down for that, but again, Georgia played Mississippi State close at home. They played Missouri close to 10. I do think that this Georgia team at home is much better. And then as far as Florida is concerned, I know that they've been like absolute world beaters, and the fact that they've only lost a couple games, one of them to Missouri, one of them to Tennessee. They lost to Kentucky in a game that they scored 100, so it's really hard to grade them down for that game. But I do kind of say that this is going to be a pretty significant step up in class for them. Obviously, they played Auburn a couple weeks ago, but Mississippi State's a decent. But South Carolina, Oklahoma, LSU, their last 3 games, I would argue that Georgia is a significant step up in competition to that. On top of the fact that after Georgia, Florida has Texas A&M, Alabama, and Ole Miss on their schedule. So I would argue that this is a little bit of a sleepy spot for Florida as well. I would also argue that Georgia, as bad as they have been, if they were to win this game and win a couple games through their last 3 games of the year and put a couple decent games together in the SEC tournament, I still think that their tournament hopes, as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned, is alive here. I do trust Georgia a little bit more at home, like I said, but the other thing I wanted to touch on is the height. Florida is one of those teams that usually can punish people with their height because they're going to be a lot bigger than a lot of people. And they're not going to have that here today against Georgia. Georgia is one of the biggest teams in the country. So I don't mind an over either. I think that Georgia is going to get theirs defensively. And I think that we see a pretty good effort with Georgia here tonight. I know that Mike White, who's the coach of Georgia, doesn't have a lot of success against his old team in Florida. But again, I just thought that this number was, especially that this number is moving down, and I got it at 7.5 and it's not moving up, makes me a little bit more comfortable as well. So I already thought this line was kind of weird coming in under 10-ish anyway, just because of how Florida has played through the whole year. So yeah, I played Georgia.
College experience guys like Georgia too. Apparently Georgia's much better at home, and It's a sharp play. I'm not betting it. I'm not taking it. I don't have the backbone to do it because Florida's a machine. But so let's go to the next one. Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh. I think this is a spot that you take Pitt. Everyone's betting Georgia Tech. No one likes Pitt anymore. So the idea like, oh, how are you lay 8.5 with Pitt? Nobody's doing it. Everyone was taking Georgia Tech here. Georgia Tech's overdue to lay an egg. I think Pitt wins this one by double digits. I didn't bet it, but kind of want to. I'm the only one that likes Pitt. Toast about to take Georgia Tech. Everyone likes Georgia Tech.
Yeah, you kind of took the wind out of my sails. I played Georgia Tech at 9, not in love with it now that I feel like the world's on it. So I'll just keep this really quick. But yeah, I do think that Georgia Tech has been playing much better. I know they just kind of laid an egg against Wisconsin, but like we talked about briefly last night, I just don't feel like Pittsburgh should be a 9-point favorite against anybody. They really haven't been playing well. Their last 2 wins, or their last 3 teams that they've beat is Syracuse, North Carolina, and Miami. So just really hard to trust a team like that to win by multiple possessions. So yeah, again, like Kyle said, it's pretty public. The world seems to be on Georgia Tech here. So I'm not in love with it, but I did bet Georgia Tech +9 for a half a unit.
Helms says Pitt is public. Dude, I haven't heard a single person like Pitt.
I agree. I was gonna say I don't know anybody on Pitt today.
Yeah,
not that I'm the end all be all or anything of that
I
nature.
watched
I'm just
4
saying, like,
college basketball shows,
I watched a lot of
and
shit.
every single person is on Georgia Tech.
Like I said, I don't love it as much as I did last night, but I did bet it.
Next up, let's go.
Time.
Bears
Time
up.
is now, boys.
Money line +120. Don't need the points. No need. Edgecombe. The Edgecombe experience is coming tonight. 25 plus. Cincinnati. Look, Cincinnati, I feel like everyone's kind of forgotten that Cincinnati was kind of disappointing a lot of times this year, and everyone's focused on fading Baylor without even realizing, like, oh, you're laying points with Cincinnati. It's everyone down. There's a lot of sharp people taking Cincinnati here, so it's not like I'm saying these people are like there's sharp people on Cincinnati. I'm just saying I feel like everyone I've heard talk about it is talking about how bad Baylor is and not ignoring Cincinnati's flaws. Baylor's up. Let's go. Money line.
Yeah. You put it very well. It's not me necessarily trying to make a case that Cincinnati's bad and Baylor's going to come in here and beat their ass, but it's more the fact, like Kyle said, is that it's everybody that I talk to or everybody I know has jumped shipped on Baylor, and they act like Scott Drew doesn't have a fucking national championship to his name, like he doesn't know what he's doing. And keep in mind, it's not like Baylor's losing to these terrible teams. I mean, they lost to BYU on the road in overtime. BYU's a pretty damn good team. They lost to Texas Tech on the road. Texas Tech, a good team. Houston, I'm pretty sure they're all right. Arizona, they're all right. The only one that you can even say that was a bad loss was Colorado. They lost that game by 2. It is what it is. But I do think that they're going to continue to get better as these guys continue to get healthy. I know that Jeremy Roach hasn't looked like Jeremy Roach, but again, I think that him being a senior point guard is only going to help this team. And now here they are on the road in a spot that nobody wants to bet them. But who the hell are you guys trying to bet? Why the hell are we trying to bet Cincinnati? Like, and laying points with this team? Like, what is the impressive win what is that impressive about Cincinnati? The UCF win, the Baylor win, the BYU win.
TCU.
I mean, it's just really not that impressive. Again, I think that TCU is playing much better basketball right now, and that's a solid win. But in the context of them versus Baylor and them laying points against Baylor is a completely different story for me as well. So Cincinnati cannot score the basketball. I trust the Baylor defense to show up here tonight, and Baylor's defense is pretty average. But again, I do trust them. Not to mention, you know me, this game is close. It's under 1 possession. Which team has a ginormous free throw advantage? That would be Baylor, shooting almost to 80% as a team. Cincinnati shooting close to 68% as a team. Baylor Bears win this basketball game.
Agreed. Next. What's next? Marquette. Marquette or pass. I didn't bet it.
I bet Marquette at 13, I think it was. It's just one of those situations where I think that Marquette off of a loss is going to dog walk this team. I know that they haven't really been great, but we just saw Providence, and I know that, as Andy always said, college basketball isn't transactional, but we just saw Providence go from +3.5 against Georgetown, got all the way bet to the favorite, lost that game by 20, and was never in the game. So you take away that Villanova game where they got up at home, which is, again, we know we love betting Providence at the dunk. They've been absolutely terrible. So yes, they played St. John's close, and I think some people kind of latch onto that and whatnot, but I think this Providence team is really, really bad. And now there's at the end of the season, and you're getting Marquette in kind of a really desperate spot for Marquette. They need a good showing here, especially at home. So, I took Marquette minus a big number.
Yeah, same, but pass.
A lot of my bets are happy.
Rich, what?
I'm in with you,
Let's
dude.
go.
I'm in. I looked at this like 3 times, and then finally I was like, you know what? I'm going in. I'm going in with you. I'm in the foxhole with you.
Plus 14.5. Richmond here. Everyone just crowned VCU as this unstoppable force, and you know what? They might be that, but we're definitely getting the VCU market at an all-time high here. They're already looking ahead to Davidson in their next game. They've already beaten this team, Richmond, by 40 or whatever the first time they played. They are not getting up for this game. Richmond, yeah, I mean, they're not very good this year, but this is a very good team last year. I think VCU is going to come out flat. 14.5 is a lot of points to lay on the road, especially against a team you've already beaten handily. It reminds me a lot of the Kansas UCF game when I took UCF and everyone was like, Kansas beat this team by 40 already. But it was like, yeah, exactly. Why they're not going to come out very strong in this game because they're already looking on to the next one. They know they could beat this team. So I like Richmond to play them tough. I wouldn't be surprised if this game comes down to the wire. Obviously, I don't think Richmond's going to win, but Richmond plus 4.5. Spiders up.
I'm on Richmond too. It's more or less that I continue to see all this love for VCU, which I get. They've been really, really good, but not that I'm trying to compare Richmond and George Mason at all. But I think that people are looking at that George Mason game and being like, oh my God, they played fantastic. And that game was like, tied at halftime, and VCU just absolutely blitzed them the first 10 minutes out of the second half. So again, they get a lot of credit for that. VCU's been really good, but I do think this is kind of like Kyle said, a little bit of a sleepy spot for them. Again, this is a little bit more of me fading the world, to be dead honest with you guys, than anything. But like I said, I did bet Richmond plus 15.
Some TWD said keep going against VCU. I don't think I've bet against VCU once all year.
I don't know if I've bet against them.
Yeah, I haven't bet against them once all year. All right, next game.
Maybe. I mean,
Trevor's on VCU. Good. Perfect.
He loves VCU.
Northwestern, Minnesota. Don't care about
And VCU is one of those teams like Trevor does very well, is that if you're betting for them or betting with them or against them all year and you continue to do it, yeah, it's a really good spot, and it makes it way easier to bet VCU. He's also
Northwestern, Minnesota. I have nothing to say. I guess Northwestern or pass, but I'm not. I'm good. You're on the Gophers.
Yeah, I played Minnesota on the money line. Don't love it. We talked about this last night, how Minnesota, I've loved the 2 times that Minnesota has been a favorite at home. They've lost. I do think this is kind of at the point where Northwestern, I know that they've been kind of feisty and they just had a huge win at Ohio State, but I think that was kind of like the tip of the iceberg for them. I think that's as best you're going to possibly see them. We saw them beat USC at home, and then they went and lost to Washington. Washington's like a way much worse team than USC. I just don't really like this team off of wins. Off of a big win. Not to mention the fact that Minnesota really needs this game. Both these teams kind of need this game, but Minnesota's in that spot where they can still make the Big Ten tournament. I don't think that Northwestern is going to have a chance no matter what. So I'll take my chances on the Gophers finally winning a game at home. I did play them on the money line at minus 134 or something. I think, yeah, you got it. So, yeah.
Next. Oh, I added this one in.
Okay.
So play the video. I'm tailing Moneyline Mac on this one.
Illinois State. What is this number? Is that Southern Illinois? Somebody make this make sense.
I got this one. I've had this one circled. Houston Christian last night. Who was the game before that? Loyola Maryland. 2 teams that were heading into senior days on a 4-game skid, catching a short number.
Laying a short number.
Or laying it or getting a short number. Loyola Maryland drilled Colgate. Houston Christian drilled Stephen F. Austin. And Southern Illinois is going to put it on Illinois State.
Perfect. Southern Illinois. I was like, instead of trying to remember that, I'm just tailing on that one. I was watching that late last night. He sold me on it. I got plus 1.5 though.
Who did you take?
Southern Illinois plus 1.5.
Okay, I didn't know if you were saying their name so people knew, or you actually bet. My bad. So I don't really have an opinion on this one. I will say that Southern Illinois is off of 4 straight losses. But yeah, I don't really have an opinion on this one.
Helms goes, that's got to be some copyright violation. I reached out and asked permission to do it, Helms.
I was going to say, there's no way copyright.
What do we got? Iowa State, Oklahoma State. You guys all love Oklahoma State. I'm good. I'm passing on this.
Really? I thought you were in the foxhole with us.
I said I picked Oklahoma State on this show, but I was just trying to fit in.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I did play Oklahoma State here. It's kind of disgusting, but I will say part of it is that I do trust Trevor and this whole narrative of you fade teams after they play Houston. Not to mention the fact that I do think that game for Iowa State took a little bit out of that team. Not only are they down to multiple guys, but they really kind of played Houston close in that game for a while. And now they got to go on the road and kind of play in a sleepy spot, I would consider, for them, because keep in mind, they just played Houston now on the road. Now they got to go a couple days later and play Oklahoma State. And then they have Arizona, BYU, Kansas State on deck. So I do think this is a kind of a sleepy spot. And then Oklahoma State, on the other hand, I'm not trying to make a case that they're good or anything like that. But they have played much better at home. I know that some of those games, like the Arizona State game, they didn't have all their players and whatnot. But I do feel like this number staying under 12 or whatever it is, and this number continuing not to move, makes me even more confident in this. So again, Iowa State.
But it did move, dude. It did move, though.
What's the number? What's the number?
I'm seeing 10.5.
I got 10.5. So.
Dude, it was 9.5 last night.
No, I don't know.
Okay. It definitely
regardless.
was.
Regardless, the fact that this number is under 12 and under this big, huge number makes me more confident in it. Not to mention the fact that Iowa State, I know that they've been good, but at the same time, they've beat up on kind of bad teams, which I'll give you Oklahoma State is a bad team. But another thing that we've noticed with this Iowa State team is a lot of their covers, especially with the big numbers, have came in big runs in the last 5-10 minutes of the game where they're not covering the whole game. And then a flurry of threes happen and they cover. So I just don't feel like they're going to be able to do that same type of situation here today with not all their guys out. So again, I played Oklahoma State small. It is what it is. We'll see what happens.
So on to the next one. I get what they're saying. They're saying this is an important game for Iowa State. They're mathematically eliminated from the conference. They're dealing with injuries. So, like, it's the ultimate, like, not get up for this game spot. I get what they're saying, but Oklahoma State is bad, man.
They're really bad.
They're really bad. TCU, West Virginia. Everyone loves TCU here. I kind of want to bet West Virginia just to be on.
Who's everybody besides me?
Dude, Trevor.
Sharp.
Dude, I've seen people on TCU. Don't put me in the spot like that.
That's fair. I watched the shows too. I was just curious if there was something specific. That's all.
He's on TCU.
I'm on West Virginia. I'm on TCU. Sorry. I also played TCU money line, sprinkled the TCU money line a little bit. I just feel like TCU's playing extremely good basketball, especially since the beginning of February. At the end of January, they got their teeth kicked in by Texas Tech. They beat Colorado. They beat this West Virginia team by 5. Their only losses was to Iowa State, which was on the road. They got absolutely killed. And then Cincinnati on the road. But they played decent on the road against Arizona State. Again, I don't expect them to beat teams like like Texas Tech and Iowa State and stuff on the road. They beat Baylor on the road. I know that Baylor isn't fantastic or whatever, but I just think that TCU is playing much better basketball than a lot of people are giving them credit for. And this West Virginia team that I tried to have high hopes for and tried to back them, but again, they just really haven't been playing well. Not only do they only have 1 win or 2 wins in their last 6 games, their 1 win was against Utah, which was at home. Utah flying across the country from altitude, just a terrible spot, not to mention Utah's terrible. And then they beat Cincinnati at home as well. And that game, they almost tried to give that game away. So again, and they just seem to have Cincinnati's number because they beat Cincinnati twice this year. So again, I just feel like TCU is playing so well right now, considering the fact that they're getting 7.5, 6.5, 7.5 points. And a team that I feel like they match up pretty well with West Virginia as well. Neither one of these offenses is fantastic. I will give you that West Virginia doesn't turn the basketball over, but at the same time, I do think this TCU defense has been playing really well. And one thing that I will remember, I forgot to mention, is that the points in the paint. West Virginia is getting absolutely slaughtered points in the paint wise, and that's one thing that TCU has done really, really good at, especially over the last month and change. So again, we'll see what happens. I don't know if it's a public dog or not, but I think the TCU can win this basketball game.
West Virginia or pass? I don't really know. Next. I'm down to do this with you. I didn't bet it yet, but I like what you were saying, and I agree that it's a bulldog spot.
Yeah, I bet Mississippi State plus 8.5 here. I think this is like, I know that I've said this a lot, but especially today it feels like, but I do really feel like this is like a really bad spot for Alabama. They just got done playing 3 really big games for them. They lost 2 of the 3. So I get people wanting to say, oh, it's not going to be a sleepy spot, but playing Auburn, Missouri, Kentucky, those are 3 huge games, especially that Kentucky game was really big. Especially, I mean, Auburn was big too, but now they play Mississippi State, who hasn't really been great. It's a home game. And then after this, they have Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn on deck. So just an absolute terrible spot for this team. And not to mention the fact that I do think that Mississippi State should be able to hang in with this team early, or with this team. They only lost by 4 to them earlier in the season. And there's one thing that I think that Mississippi State can do is that they don't rely on the 3 ball. And I think that if that's going to be the case, I think that could lead to issues like Grant Nelson or Clifford Amorie. Some of those guys possibly start to get into foul trouble. Neither one of these teams are great free throw shooting teams. Mississippi State does have some turnover issues on offense, but guess what? Bama doesn't force any turnovers, and Bama usually can get teams because of their pace, and they're not going to be able to do that against Mississippi State because Mississippi State can play the same type of pace with them. So I get that it's Mississippi State and Josh Hubbard kind of versus the world, but at the same time, Josh Hubbard's been playing some pretty damn good basketball over the last couple of weeks, so I can trust him to continue to play well. I like Mississippi State here in a sleepy spot for Alabama. I just thought this was too many points. And again, another one of those games where I thought it was under 10 for a reason, because I don't think that if they would have put Mississippi State plus 10.5, they would have got absolutely slammed.
Someone said, Toast, at what point do you give Alabama their respect? He just bet Alabama and Missouri a couple games back.
Yeah, and they cashed for me. They lost to Missouri. I faded Alabama against
you took Auburn and won,
yeah.
But then you took Alabama against Missouri and lost. Right?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure you had Alabama in that game. But all right, last game up.
No, I would have played the over because I play. With Alabama.
Maybe you did play the
overs
over.
Off. Yeah, I play over. I play Alabama team total off a loss automatic. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's regardless.
No, you might have played the over in that.
Maybe I did, but I don't really. Yeah.
All right.
Definitely not fading Bama a lot.
Zags.
I
have the
Zags.
Santa Clara live?
Probably. I would say yeah. I don't know. My issue with Santa Clara is it's kind of like feast or famine with them. They're coming off a game where they shot, let's see here, 23 for 38 from deep against Washington State. That's a lot of 3-point makes for this team. They're definitely not going to be able to do that against Gonzaga. I will give you that. So it would be over or pass for me if I had to make a play in this game. So I don't really, again, I love Gonzaga, but I still feel the same way. You cannot lay multiple possessions with this team, not in this spot, at least not in a spot against capable teams. And Santa Clara definitely is a capable team. This is a huge game for Santa Clara. If they were to win this game, not only would they give themselves I would assume a little bit of life to get maybe not an at-large bid, but it would definitely give their season a little bit of life. And I give them a lot of confidence going into that WCC tournament. And then they could pass San Francisco as well. So they are going to get Santa Clara is getting back. What's his face? Ball back tonight. That has been confirmed. So that's a really big piece for them, considering the fact that he's probably one of their best players, if not their best player at 6'7" senior. So again, with him being back, it would be Santa Clara or over for me. It's just really hard to trust Gonzaga, especially coming off the St. Mary's game and then having to go on the road. So I get that people can say that it'd be a bounce back situation for them, maybe. But again, as much as I love the Zags, you cannot trust that team to lay multiple possessions, especially on the road.
I don't know. Pass. I don't really know what to do there. That is it. So, underdog.
Yeah. All right. So let's pull off. I mean, we've been so profitable with these lately.
Have we really?
No, I can't pick a winner to save my life. Okay, so we've got Luka Doncic lower than 31.5 points. The dude lives from outside. Dallas has been claimed from outside. Coach Kidd ain't gonna let this man shoot all day, folks. I think we're gonna have to see distributor Luka today. Also, the minutes have been lower, the volume's been lower, so I like the lower there. And then Darius Garland, lower than 2.5 3-pointers made, gave a plethora of reasoning why I love that play today. As long as he goes should be a good play there. The underdog promo of the day is actually none other than Luka Doncic to score over a half total point. So I guess if you don't like my Luka play, you can literally replace it. So there you go. And the underdog map is right here. If you are not a customer and like to become one, you can sign up in one of these lovely yellow states using the promo code BET, B-E-T. And you can get a deposit match up to $1,000. Promo code BT. Link Stubbs just said Garland is out. Is that actually true?
Is that confirmed? Let's go to Twitter. I have a notification from Underdog Fantasy. Max Scherzer on ABS system.
What?
Can we just be judged by human?
Hey, Link Stubbs.
I'm about to
Eat
turn
a bag of fucking schmeat, okay, dickwad? Why? Just why?
I mean, maybe he's got some. I don't see that here.
Yeah, because he's not out. It's just a troll. It just senseless
Hold on.
violence.
Let me see.
Disappointment on Kyle's face, and it was for baseball. It was
Just senseless violence.
Yeah, I don't see anything that
Just
shows
why?
that.
I think we're pretty nice guys, and there's just no reason to say that.
Tinker says this was an exceptionable show.
Thank you, Tink.
Fuck you guys. I hate you guys so much.
That was hilarious.
You guys don't understand how hard it is sometimes.
I think tomorrow the community parlay is too much to do at the end of these shows because these shows are getting like long. But I think we should do a community top bet and maybe try to be mindful of what sides ATS throughout the show get the most votes to see what the community's favorite ATS bet is. Because, dude, the community parlay is 5 polls. And it's like, dude, we were just on camera for 70 minutes. We're not trying to sit there and do 5 polls. Not to mention how many people are actually tailing it. But, right? But the community parlay, the community top bet was 1 poll. And I think we could do that.
Or we could do like a favorite and a dog. I don't know. I'm just making things up. But regardless, we'll figure it out.
All right, everyone, see you all at midnight for the college basketball show. Hit me up in the Discord if you need. Oh, the betting league. Put the standings up.
Okay.
Put them up.
Oh.
As you know, I was terrible.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Okay, Nas.
Well, somebody hit a huge. Hold on, let me pull it up. Somebody hit. God, I can't remember. Nas hit a. Who did he have? Timberwolves money line against Oklahoma City. But for a full unit or something. So, yeah, Nas jumped out to a huge lead in Wartville. I'm towards the back of Mama's Pudding division. Some notable performances. Heem, who's in the comments a lot. He's in Rat Stevens division. Ned right there behind him. Lobster. Well,
I just think it's funny that Jay Glazer is no make fun of nothing, just straight Jay Glazer. Like what?
Jay Glazer has some new names towards the top. Phoenix Fanatic, Southpaw. We got Lobster, the guy Joey Lobster is up in top of the East Panda division with Jess in second place. And then we got a battle going on in the bottom divisions. I mean, Mama's Pudding is Cozy and Jordan, Mustard and Relish, Ace, Boogie, Wellesley, some familiar faces. And We Love Drugs. We Love Drugs almost made the championship last week. He's a fan favorite. Everyone loves We Love Drugs.
He
He's
said
in third
that
place.
Modai works at a summer camp earlier, and honestly, I believe him.
He does work at a summer camp.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're in the league, you have 1 hour and 47 minutes to submit your picks for tonight if you're in the league. Everyone, talk to you later. Hit me in the Discord if you need me. Oh, wait, real quick. Someone says, how do I enter this? It's for people that are in the Discord and on the website. You can sign up if you want. It's on KyleKirms.com, but it's for people that sign up for the website. So that's really who the standings was for. But yeah, you're more than welcome to join. It's a betting league. Every week, you submit picks every night. You compete in your division. If you win your division, you're in the championship, which is on every Sunday. The winner gets this trophy mailed to them and $150 cash. So, I mean, it's more for like shit talking. Like it's $150. Like who cares? But it's more for like shit talking and the trophy. Because if you participate in the league, you get to know everyone in the group, and then it's like funny competing with people you know. So it's more just like something fun we do.
And you can also play off of it. And I know we've said this a few times, but if you're down a couple of days, or say you missed yesterday and you want to join, you could play a couple of dogs and try to play spoiler for somebody. It doesn't have to be necessarily the picks that you think are going to win. You can try to play it in like a game show type of fashion.
Or if things aren't going well, you get the trophy, right? You could smelt the gold and then use that to place more bets.
So I mean, a lot of it's just shit talk. Like Steez is always in the back of his division. It's always that screenshot gets shared multiple times a day of Steez like -7 units.
He's like one of my favorites now, though.
All right, everyone.